We haven't started yet.
موافق الله يسلمك مشكورة.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, Ramadan Kareem. Many of you will know me. I am Billy Tesik, the president of NAWIC Qatar, National Association of Women in Construction. I hope you're all well. On behalf of the NAWIC Qatar Foundation Board, welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. And I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our partners and sponsors for joining us and supporting NAWIC. Regency Group, Al Asmah Real Estate Development, Qatar University, Public Works Authority Ashkal, GHD, Parsons, G-Sonic, Erga, Turner & Townsend, Qatar Financial Center, LCI, Qatar Lean Construction Institute, and TMF. This evening, we are honored to have Dr. Abdallah Al-Mashadi with us, presenting on projects leadership. And just before we start, as many of you will know, I will just run through a few, let's call them housekeeping points. The session is being recorded and will be available for sharing with you next week. Of the webinar. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box or on the right-hand side on the screen, and we will answer them after the presentation. The webinar, including Q&A session, should run up to an hour and a half maximum. We appreciate, of course, your full attention during the webinar, and we just ask you to minimize all the distractions. During or after the webinar, you're welcome to put your feedback on the webinar so we can improve and use that for our future events. Now we got to the most important part of this. Allow me to introduce you, our presenter for this evening, an icon of construction industry, Dr. Abdallah Al-Mashadi. Dr. Abdallah is the CEO of Al Wab City. He is a partner at Domopen and accredited arbitrator with Qatar International Conciliation and Arbitration. Prior to this, Dr. Abdallah was a CEO in Musharraf and has held other prestigious roles and positions with Private Engineering Office, CAFCO, and the Ministry of Environment. Dr. Abdallah has started his career as a mechanical engineer graduating from University of Huddersfield. Since he has obtained his MBA from HEC Paris in Qatar, EMBA in leadership from Georgetown University, and his doctorate from PSB in Paris, and has created many legacies in the industry. Dr. Abdallah, again this evening, thank you so much for giving us your sharing experience. Please take us through your presentation.
Thank you so much, Billy. Good evening, everyone. I'm so honored to be part of this presentation. So let me start by saying مبارك عليكم الشهر جميعا وما تبقى من start by saying شهر جميعا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه اللهم يا معلم آدم وإبراهيم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. This presentation will go in English if you don't mind. I could go over a few items in Arabic if somebody is interested at the later part of the presentation, or maybe with the question and answer session. What I thought I will start with is just to give you a snapshot of how big of a suffering the projects around the globe are seeing. If you know, any project manager is mainly focusing on 3 items, and these 3 items are cost, time, and quality. This is part of a study that was done by McKinsey. McKinsey have done a review on 274 different projects around the globe with a budget over the $1 billion US. You will see on the left side, the blue bars are showing the cost overrun. Oil and gas downstream, I mean, average cost of overrun is 53%. So more of half of the budget of the project, in addition, is spent on the project to get it completed. If you run through the list, you will see that the real estate is suffering an overrun, cost overrun of 24%, with a mean 37%. On the schedule overrun, you will see the picture in some cases as more grim. The real estate is suffering an 85% overrun of schedule. So if you had a hotel that you wanted to have a rating and you wanted to receive revenue out of, I think you will be hating these statistics and you will not like it. Now, I have to remind you that there was also a study done by McKinsey on projects here in Qatar. They were comparing Qatar projects with projects in the neighboring countries. What they have come up with is that as cost of overrun, we have something like 30% cost overrun compared to the neighboring countries. Or a schedule overrun, we have between 30 to 40% schedule overrun, so delay. To value for both parties, the owner and the contractor, is very important. I have seen, and I'm sure that most of you have seen the scenario where we are so friendly with the contractor up to the time where we sign a contract. And once we sign the contract, we try to put more pressure on the contractor. We try to take an advantage of the contractor. Our contracts, in most of the cases, are single-sided towards the client. And sometimes the project managers and the contract administrator in order for you to be able to manage a project. Leaders should trust and enforce the appropriate process that requires that from a to a winning project. this must complement the requisite technical skills and experience. So you have to understand the culture, the local culture, and you have to make sure that there is a teamwork happening between the contractor and the project team. And these things we have seen in Qatar in particular, because we have had many international contractors who are coming after a certain experience, maybe in Saudi Arabia or UAE or any of the neighboring countries, thinking that Qatar will have the same culture, Qatar will have the same regulation, rules, the same environment of work. And unfortunately, they discover that each and every country is different than the other. They should have spent the time to understand the environment. For example, I mean, primary material is not always available in Qatar. Subcontractors are not well trained in Qatar because of the difference and the number of projects being done in Qatar. Now we have to allocate the risk and align the advantages here. I mean, delegate only those risks that the contractor is better positioned to handle. Establish and maintain relationships, and not only contract to facilitate ongoing alignments of incentives. I mean, in some cases, the contractor is being closer to finding out an advantageous, let's say, proposal where both parties could win in accelerating the project or reducing the cost of the project. Something that we have also seen in Qatar, that we don't tend to listen to the contractor, we tend to listen to consultants. And I mean, if you look into the advantages or why would a contractor propose something, it is because it will make his delivery either faster or less costly. While a consultant may not feel that in particular, because in some cases consultants would like to have a project prolonging with the value of the project going higher, because that is their advantage. So you could see that there is a conflict of interest in that particular case. Continuous focus on relationships with stakeholders. Stakeholder management is a core activity. Those of you who have done a PMI or a project management training of any sort, you will recall that a stakeholder management is a very important item. You need to keep your stakeholder fully aware, because their decisions may affect the success of the project. A strong and transparent, trust-based relationship with stakeholders enable prevention and rapid resolution of problem. You need to prevent problems, and you need to find very quickly solutions or resolution for any problem that is as quick as possible, because that will result in your project being delivered on time. And if you deliver on time, most probably you will deliver on budget. There will be no escalation of problems and no additional cost being spent. And we move on to the delivery part. The items under the delivery. When you think of delivering a project, you need to invest in your team. Delivering a large project require continual investment in the effectiveness of your team. You need to make sure that your team is having the right competency, they are efficient in working together and able to deliver projects to the desired goals and level. Leaders must think deeply about how to develop and challenge their people throughout. These are your true assets. Your team is your true assets. We spoke about the trust that should be established. You have to give them an ample room to take decisions, and you have to make sure that they get exposed to growing in the level of taking decisions and being able to follow projects to the desired level. A timely decision-making process is very important. I mean, we spoke about how transparent you should be and how close you should be with your stakeholders, with your management of the company and with your team. And this is all, if these were put together, you will end up with a timely decision-making depending on the delegation of decisions to the lowest appropriate level. So, rather than escalating each and every little thing up to a higher level, you will have to accept that there are certain roles and responsibilities where you delegate decision making to somebody maybe lower in the organization level. So as a leader, you have the right time to think and resolve issues and think strategically, and for that to happen, you have to have the confidence, and you have to trust not only the system but also your people. Forward-looking performance management: use a fact-based performance dialogue to strengthen trusting relationship and increase the accountability. This allows for early problem resolution and opportunity identification. The sooner you identify a problem, the more time you will have to evaluate solutions, and the less susceptibility of your project getting delayed or having a cost overrun. You have to encourage desired behavior in consistency. Be the role model for desired attitude and behavior. Make sure that you not only talk the talk, but also walk the walk. You have to show your team that whatever you preach, you are also exercising. Make sure that you deal with your team on a personal level. You need to connect with your team. Each one of us has their own differences, and you have to accept those. Different doesn't mean strange or not helpful. Sometimes the differences in opinion, in the way we think, in the way we behave, could be a value add to the team rather than something that could be seen as a negative thing. So to wrap up, good project management is a blend between art and science. The science refers to the system, the processes, and the methodologies of the project management. This is where your BIM book and project management manual are there for. The art is the blend of soft leadership and organizational skills, the mindset, the behaviors, and the competence that complement the science. So it's a combination between your understanding to your processes and your understanding to your leadership ability. I thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I hope I did not bore all of you. Billy, if you want to take over from here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Abdallah. I'd like to hand to you the certificate of appreciation for the wonderful presentation. It's great to be reminded of the things and the importance of the key factors that impact the project performance, and especially the recognition of the soft skills, recognition of local and cultural knowledge and awareness, which ultimately plays a big part in project delivery. Also, I would like to announce that Dr. Abdallah Mashadi has accepted to be a NAWIC board advisor. So we feel very privileged to have him as a part of the organization and on a strategic level to guide and support NAWIC in our endeavors and in delivering our mission and providing the better support and empowerment for women in construction and ultimately to the construction industry of Qatar. So thank you, Dr. Abdallah.
Thank you, Billy. It's a great honor to be part of NAWIC, and I hope I could be an added value to you and to all of those who are part of NAWIC.
Of course.
I'm available to support in whatever mean or way.
Yeah,
thank you.
It means a lot. It means a lot, you know, to me, to the board, and to the members. So, you know, it just makes us feel stronger.
Thank you.
So we will go through, Dr. Abdallah, we will go through the questions. So in the first slide, you showed us the historical performance of projects and the sort of the time overruns and the cost overruns. And when it comes to the real estate projects, it seems that the cost overrun was, I think, 24%, and the time was 85%. So this is while the other sectors seem to be a little bit closer in terms of, you know, in terms of the cost and the money. With real estate, there seem to be, you know, like almost not quite 4 times, but, you know, 3 times definitely. More time is used. So, you know, when you look at that, it's I suppose it could be the wrong planning, the original time frames, you know, given slightly unrealistic, because you would expect that the time and the cost overruns would be closer if the schedules were realistic. Saying that, you know, there could be economical impacts of the country, political issues, or, you know, different things that would impact the schedule, but not necessarily the time. What is your opinion in terms of real estate projects? Sort of and the lateness in the schedule that sort of runs almost to twice as time as originally planned.
Okay, I'm sure if the attendees could share, maybe they'll share the same opinion, Billy. In Qatar, what we have seen is that you have to remember the impact on the project cost is a function of how big the project starting budget is, because it's like a certain percentage of overrun that happens. Now, what I have seen is that in some cases you have an incomplete or lack of proper engineering done. We have seen projects where there was no proper evaluation to the land where the project is being constructed. I mean, sometimes you have the soil not being studied properly, and we have seen the Shamal road having issues with big craters under the pillar. So these are some issues. I mean, and I would say I could classify them as something to do with the lack of proper engineering or maybe incomplete engineering. What we have seen also is probably, I mean, hotels and hospitality projects. You have a client who may have seen things on a model or on a presentation and could not really live the real experience of how things will happen. And it happens that he or she would be passing through the project and then discover, oh, this room is too small, let's go and change it.
Yes.
And I think the variation orders that are generated by an additional requirement from any stakeholder. I mean, it could be a new regulation in the country. It could be, I mean, we have seen on the required CCTV cameras in Qatar, it jumped like to double fold. So that's an additional cost on a project. That is an additional time. You may have to go back to the drawing office and start drawing where the cables are going to be run and how you're going to be able to install a big bulky server now that should handle 6 months rather than 1 month and so forth. So the sooner you as a project manager are able to forecast these problems, the better you are going to be equipped to find resolution for them. You will reduce the risks of overrun in schedule, or at least minimize it, and overrun in cost. I mean, so far, all statistics showed, whether here in this part of the world or globally, it is very seldom that you have issues with quality. And again, if you consider yourself as a project manager, there are only these 3 main factors that you have to bear in mind. You need to control your quality. You need to control your schedule. You need to control your cost. These are, to me, are the core things that a project manager should handle. Anything else, to me, are trivial. I mean, I have to control these 3 things, because if these 3 things have been put under proper control, then I'm sure my project is going to be successful. I mean, nobody complains about whether there was publicity happening on a certain project, but if you complete the project in time, then everybody's going to be happening, and all of this bad publicity will just vanish. You won't even feel them.
Yeah. Okay, we have another we have a question. In your perspective, what do you think is the difference between leadership and management? A very good question.
Wow, that's a big academic question, Chris. Thank you for the question. I think being a leader is feeling for your team, understanding their capabilities. I mean, you need to be as close as possible to your team. You need to empower them in some cases, but you also need to back them up whenever needed. I like the example of management that Dr. Saeed Al-Naimi used to exercise, the CEO of Aramco. He is a person that leads from behind, so he will not show you that he is leading and pointing at which direction you should go, but he will lead from allowing the team to take whatever decisions, but and he will only support them. When he was asked, how can you do this? I mean, it's not even a leadership that you could see in any textbook. He said, my father went blind somewhere in his late years of life, and he said, I couldn't bear and I couldn't walk in front of my dad to take him to wherever he wanted to go. So I used to lead him by walking behind him. So that kind of helped him to understand that people do have solutions in their head. All that you need to do is to allow them to bring these solutions to the table and explore them for a while. And then if these solutions are good, or maybe they need some tweaking, that's fine, but make sure that they have the ownership of these decisions. Make sure that they understand that, wow, this decision was actually in my head. I had to go to my boss just to clarify. And that to me is part of the leadership. You need to set yourself as an example. You can't say to the team, do something. It's like, I mean, when we used to be young, fathers used to say, don't smoke while they're smoking. That doesn't work. I mean, so
definitely doesn't. You go left, they go right.
I mean, I believe this is a big question, and I'm sure that there are many academic papers on the difference between management and leadership, and I mean, there is no one single opinion that match the other here under this question. Thank you, Chris, for the question.
Yeah. Okay, the other question, Dr. Al-Mashadi mentioned that some contractors are coming to work from outside Qatar without practice or experience with work procedure, how to control such thing in project time, impact, and cost as well.
Okay. Good. I mean, the contractors that are coming to Qatar are very renowned contractors that have delivered many projects, that have undergone a certain requirement for pre-qualification. Now, I'm referring to my own personal experience where somebody have worked in Oman and in Saudi, two countries that are allegedly are more difficult to work in when compared to Qatar. I think he was, I mean, the owner of the company was comparing culture to culture rather than environment of work to environment of work. I mean, just having a meeting with the contractor to make sure that they understand the environment they will work in and the differences between the earlier environment, example, Saudi or Oman, to how the environment in Qatar is going to be, is very important. I mean, they thought that they will have the same support they will get. I mean, I'll name few. I mean, we spoke about the primary material. We spoke about the subcontractors being available, workshops to the level required being available. If you go to Saudi Arabia, they have, let's say, the lifting equipment, the craneage that are available in Saudi Arabia are so humongous in number. They have all the capacity required. We have also seen some restrictions on obtaining proper visas. In that particular example of that company, the owner thought he can just commute people in buses from camps in Saudi Arabia to Qatar. And then he was hit by the fact that he cannot do that. I mean, sometimes you have to study the environment and you have to study the local regulation, whether it will allow you to exercise whatever you have been exercising somewhere else. And sometimes people are like over or super excited because of Qatar 2022, an open workshop. Everybody should contribute. Everybody should go and support Qatar. But I mean, having projects that fail is not at all supporting Qatar.
Yes, and that's interesting because the contractors will be very keen to win the projects and sort of get to Qatar and get their share of the opportunity, but the lack of understanding the regulations, resourcing in the country, it can really hinder the project and the progress completely.
Sure. I mean, we spoke about the stakeholder, the owner of the project, sometimes coming and interfering by asking for, I mean, some sugar coating or gold plating of the project. It is very important that the contractor understand that we have project owners that are deeply involved in project. Unfortunately, not in the very beginning, but at the later stage. I mean, we always remind ourselves of this phrase: failing to plan is planning to fail So if you don't really allow your owner to understand the nitty-gritty in the planning phase, you are absolutely sure that you will have an issue when the implementation is happening, and that will hurt your project, and in turn will hurt your reputation, your name, and you should not allow that to happen. Spend more time in making sure that your stakeholders understand the nitty-gritty of the detail of the project, in order for them to understand any later on requirement or additional requests will have a negative impact on your project, and you should not allow it.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to say it in and out.
It comes down to that, at the beginning. I think nobody wants to raise any concerns, talk about the risks that they even may know that will come up, but they don't want to sort of, they try to avoid these problems until everybody's deep into the project. Yeah. So you're just stuck with what you have, which
if you are back to transparency with your clients, if you explain to them that this change or that change will have this much of an impact, sometimes they even drop it. They will say, "Khalas, we will live with whatever we have decided to make from the beginning." And I've seen this happen in a number of times.
Yeah, yeah. When you talked about the leadership of the project, and one of the most important things being a decision making. In terms of, and then you talked about the sort of the ratio of processes and the leadership. When we have processes, of course they are necessary to enable project control and delivery, and the stakeholders to basically get informed on what's going on with the project. But decision making as such, it's extremely important. I know from my experience, the projects that I worked on where we had the owner who was not necessarily had to be a heads owner involved, but the quick decision making enables the whole project team to move in the right direction, to sort of to progress immediately, rather to idle or not to know exactly where they go. And I really like the thing when you said the importance of the processes, but they do not deliver the project. It's people that deliver the project. It's the owner, and it's leadership of the project that actually navigates through the things and enables everybody else to do their job. You also mentioned that we rely quite a bit on consultants. When from your perspective, what is the would you say the delegation sort of delegation of certain authority in the project? How would you sort of place that decision making?
Okay, let me remind all of us of a slogan that we used to mention or to repeat. Taking a wrong decision is better than not taking a decision at all. Status quo in your project is going to be hurting you more than allowing the project to move on, even with a chance of taking a decision. Nobody will take a wrong decision. There is nothing called wrong decision. There is an excellent decision and maybe a less of excellent decision. That's the way I see it. If you trust your team, and if you are able to provide a proper leadership, your team will always come and share with you the issues. You should not be in a situation where your team hide issues and kind of hide them until they accumulate and pile, and then the problem is even bigger to be resolved. If your team is being trusted enough, they will come and share with you the problem. They will share a solution, and in most of the cases, because they had the hands-on, in most of the cases, maybe 99.9%, they will have a good solution for you. The only thing is that you need to allow them to come forward with the issues, come forward with the solutions, and encourage them to go and implement the solutions. If there was a need to debate the solution or to try and fine-tune it, why not? If you wanted to bring more expertise to the table in order for a proper decision to be made, I have no problem with that. The only problem I have is that if you have a project needing a decision and nobody is taking the decision hands off, that is going to be putting the project in a very suffering situation. We have seen cases where, I mean, you have to remember one thing: an idle time of consultant is not paid. If you have a consultant who are sitting idle, you don't have to pay them. But if you have a contractor who is sitting at site idle, you have to remember that you have to pay them, because there is the mobilization, demobilization, and idle time that you have to compensate them for. If the project is prolonged, you have to compensate for prolongation. So all of these things put you under the pressure of having to take a decision. Consultants are definitely not going to be always supporting decision-making, quick decision-making. They would love the engineering to be brought back to them so they can provide a solution. And sometimes, as we see now, most of our consultants, even the local, are having different offices in different parts of the world, so things are being exchanged by email and working remotely. I've seen in some cases specifying some material as per the other country local authority's name, and that was an indication that the consultants do not understand that we have an organization, for example, that could be Kahrama or Ridu or whatever. I mean, I don't have to hear about DIWA in my specification. That is not even fair. So again, trusting, delegating to a certain level, and making sure that your team are able to, come forward with, okay, we have a problem. It could have been my mistake, but I come to you, Billy, and tell you that this was my mistake. If you allow it to continue, the mistake will result in a bigger problem. Let's resolve it now, and you have to give me the trust that I should come clean and tell you that there is an issue.
Yeah. And Dr. Abdallah, in terms of cultural and local awareness, what would be your advice to, because obviously, you know, in Qatar we have a lot of people that are coming from other parts in the world. They have been in Qatar for a shorter or longer time, but you know, there are still things that you know, the feedback that I am receiving, you know, it's difficult to find the sort of information to start from somewhere. What would your advice be to sort of to professionals that they are trying to gain that local knowledge and understanding, how to gain that with sort of, you know, at least on a high level, and then depending on the discipline that they come from, they can delve deeper into the regulations relevant to what they do.
Okay, I need to remind the non-locals or those who have not stayed in Qatar for long enough. I need to remind them that the Qataris and the Qatari culture is, a very open-minded culture. Qataris would accept to share knowledge and to give advices. So all that you need to have is somebody that has been in the same business, local, either a non-Qatari who has spent that long of time where he could have gathered the right experience, or a Qatari that has been there that could share and accept sharing the knowledge that he has gained. I mean, to be able to understand the working environment in Qatar, who are the decision makers, how decisions are being made, what kind of material I can bring from the local market, and what kind of material I should bring from abroad. Can I have this or that nationality coming to Qatar? I mean, these are not so difficult to obtain from any friend or somebody who may be a prospective partner at a later stage. Sometimes the client would I mean, I used to sit with contractors as a client and try to give them a glimpse of how the operation in Qatar and the working inside or under the Qatari environment would be. Sometimes, I mean, the information are there, but the contractors come with a certain, I mean, understanding. They have a stereotyping happening that they will not accept the advices, or they will think that, as I told you, if we have been successful somewhere else, Qatar should be an easier environment to be successful in.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if I was coming to any new culture, I will look for a friend and try to talk to them about how does this culture compare to my own culture, and make sure that I can, I mean, operate and live in this culture with no issues.
Yes, because it's very important, you know, to understand the regulations and compliance, and you know, make sure that you follow this, because you know the sort of the implication of maybe by not knowing, I would not like to think that anybody would ignore it deliberately. You know, they could create a bigger problem that, you know, could have been prevented only if they were aware of and if they had local knowledge how things work.
Sure.
Another an excellent thing when you said, you know, the people and the team are the asset. In terms of people and creating a project team, what are the essentials in from the leadership perspective to have in the team?
Okay, I mean, the very basic things is that your team will have to have the technical knowledge and the competencies required. 1, 2, you have to trust them. You have to make sure that you are building a team that could work in harmony. And if you recall the very basic HR lessons that we have learned when I was younger.
Me too.
Whenever you put people together to form a team, they will undergo certain stages of storming, norming, and then they will reach the stage where a performing will happen. If I mean, we have all seen it. If I have established a certain members of the team, I would love to take them to the next project along with me, because there is always a certain level of harmony. The learning curve is faster, and you don't have to waste time nursing them, especially if you have bigger tasks. I think it is typical to see that certain positions within certain projects are always repeated in names. So you see X having the following Y and the following Z and so forth. So if you have managed to establish your own team that you can harmonize with, why not try to stick to them? Because they understand you, you understand them. There is a certain level of trust. There is a certain level of harmony happening. These are all, I mean, the training, the training not only on the competency and the technical level, but also the training on how to handle projects together. How can I work with the leaders, and how can I work within the team, making sure that we are able to hit the ground running, rather than having to undergo a certain, I mean, storming and norming and what have you, and issues of me not liking to work with X and Y and nationality and so forth and background. If you have established your own team, and you see it, I mean, in companies where you have project teams, you see a project manager fighting for this or that individual to be always with him in the team.
Yes.
I mean, after all, you have to remember one thing: it's people that makes organizations, not the other way around. It's all because of this humanity or human touch that we have. Sometimes I can work very easily with Billy, but I can work a bit more difficult with somebody else. So I prefer to work with Billy. I mean, this is normal, isn't it?
Yes, yes, and that's actually a very good point, because it's when you said that leveling, you know, when you put the new people together, even if you have the majority people that you know, and you add new people, it's always that period where you have to see how they work together, and how long will it take to sort of to as you said, to harmonize, and when they can start performing to its full potential.
That's I mean, there is a certain level of energy that is needed to be put in order for you to harmonize the team. I would rather go with an already trained and harmonized team and put that energy into helping the project to move faster and better. It's all about how you initiate a project. If the project is starting on the right track from the beginning, then most probably your journey is going to be smooth. Well, if you start wrong from the first step, then
good luck. Okay, let me read you, and I will read you this question, Dr. Abdallah, and then we will make that the last question. Due to pandemic situation, working remotely is one of industry solution to continue the works or the operation of most projects and companies. How would you manage the production of your team to achieve the expected outcome?
Okay. I mean, I think being old gives you the luxury of telling stories. Let's remember one thing. I remember a friend of mine called Robin Mace from Time Qatar showing me a graph of different industry and how each industry have developed. If you look into the IT and how exponentially the IT have developed as an industry, and if you look at the construction industry, you will see that we are very, very close to flat. So the construction itself had not developed did not develop by maybe rejecting to adapt to new technology. I mean, we have been hearing about the 3D printing for ages. We haven't seen much of it being utilized. Now, the pandemic have put us in a situation where we are forced to have meetings like this one remotely. So that's one element. But would I be able to construct by sitting home? No, I'll have to be at site. I mean, you have to be involved physically.
Yes.
I believe the challenge here is to make sure that all your team and the contractors are able to adapt to the new technology, where you are able to have an approval online, a meeting online, sending instructions online, making sure that you don't have to be as much physically there at site. But I think there is no escape with our industry being the least developed industry. There is no escape of using the same old-fashioned way, where you have to be at site and you have to monitor and maybe you have to follow up. It's unfortunate, but I mean, this is the nature of things. I mean, the only thing that you could see due to pandemic is what I've just said: meetings being online, and maybe the approvals being online. You don't have to be there physically to sign or approve. But when it comes to what is happening on site, on the construction, on the checking of the quality, on the inspections, I haven't seen much remotely. I mean, I was offered few items, but I've never seen them so successful. Like, I mean, the inspection could be done online, but there must be somebody who takes pictures and put them in a file, and then you review, and then you can say yes or no. I think we have a long way to develop. I'm sure there are many innovative brains out there who could do a better slope for our industry care.
Yeah. We do have, and I suppose digital technology is sort of becoming more and more present now. It's still, still very, very hit and miss. Still,
it's the adaptation. Can we accept to bring the IT technology to help our industry or not? Is IT technology available to help us? I mean, with cameras being there, with mobiles being, you can take pictures at site and send it via email or WhatsApp. These are improvements, but they are not improvement in the core activities of
exactly into making a progress. Yeah, it's only the monitoring tools.
Yes. So yes. This is where the true value add would be, if we are able to hit the core of activities and make sure that we are able to automate them somehow, or do them on a digital platform.
Yeah. Well, I think these things as it's quite exciting to think about innovative ways, and I believe the sort of the last year and the pandemic sort of made us to think, to be more creative and to come up with different ideas. So hopefully, collectively, the sort of the industry start working on certain solutions, that will help raise that so the construction improvement in terms of performance. So but I suppose we will be witnesses of how quickly will that happen, having a sort of measurable impact on the industry.
You need a catalyst to help accelerating or changing things. We have fallen into a very comfort zone in this particular industry, and maybe it's time for us to make sure that we understand that there is that much of area for improvement that we need to work on.
That something is done differently. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Abdallah, I think that we have answered the questions. I'd like to thank you again for your time, for your sharing your expertise with us, and for supporting NAWIC Qatar. We hope we'll definitely have you more involved in our future events. Again, it's much appreciated, and it's a big change for NAWIC and ultimately for our members. So thank you so much again, and we will see you soon again.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I hope that we have shared some knowledge that could be of value to the attendees. And I look forward to doing more and more activities together with NAWIC and NAWIC team. Thank you, Billy, for everything.
Thank you.
I must not forget thanking Amna, the hidden soldier who have been running around and trying to arrange everything. So I'm from the bottom of my heart, I really thank Amna and thank Billy and everybody who supported us. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all our attendees, thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. And we hope to see you next time. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. Good night.
Yes, bye.